Toronto, the most multicultural city in the world. A place that promises opportunity, connection, and a fresh start. Every year, thousands of international students arrive here with visions shaped by glossy marketing campaigns, social media highlights, and years of ambition. But what happens when they actually get here? Beyond the brochures and the welcoming smiles, their experiences are layered, marked by adjustment, pressure, and quiet resilience. Through this project, we set out not only to understand the day-to-day realities of being the international student, but the larger systems they're expected to navigate. Housing markets that weren't designed for them, financial hurdles with no clear guidebook, classrooms with unfamiliar expectations, and the slow, sometimes lonely work of finding community. We spoke with students at different stages of their journeys, each moving through the same city, the same institutions, but in very different ways. And this is what they told us. Michael had studied internationally before. First in Japan, then Australia. By the time he arrived in Canada, he thought he knew what to expect. Even so, he cites his unfortunate experience upon arrival as a large reason behind his university choice. Drawing on his own extensive experience as an international student, Michael has left us with a word of advice.
Definitely one of the reasons I transferred from York to OCAD. York was lovely. I love studying there. There was no real welcoming service. They didn't even have my dorm ready. And so it was an extremely stressful situation, not knowing if I would have to find a hotel room for my first week or two of university. Coming to OCAD, there are things that I could have been smoother, but considering things, I'm pretty happy with how it went. Based on my past experiences of studying internationally, one thing that I have learned is you can never fully prepare yourself for another climate, for another culture, for another experience like that. And the best thing you can do is just be open to whatever it is gonna be.
From the Labor Market Information Council Analysis Report, Ray and Preston highlight their findings that many newcomers face daunting barriers when looking for somewhere to live. This reflects a broader systemic issue where immigration and housing policies don't fully align. To get a clearer picture of how these systems actually show up in real life, David reflects on his own experience navigating housing finances and the broader challenges of settling in as an international student.
I think the biggest one for me was housing, because I think in second year, I hadn't really done much myself. I'm living with my parents now. So I had to sort out where I was going to stay and what student residence. So I didn't know the timelines and all the system that it takes for housing, processing these things, applying, and obviously people are going to take up spaces. So going into second year, I didn't really have a student accommodation secured. I was literally back home. I wasn't really minding. I was oh yeah, when I go to Canada, something will probably sort itself out. But that wasn't the case. So I had to do Airbnbs for a few months or so, for the first semester. And I was commuting to school and all these things and doing school and doing full course loads. Well, that was that. Anyways, we overcame that. And then we had another year where I was looking for housing, moving from student residence now to normal housing. And I had a realtor tell me, because I'm an international student, I should pay a full year down. And I was
what do you mean?
Because I'm an international student, not because I'm applying for this or anything, but just because the fact that understand that you're from a different cultural background, they apply different standards to you as an international student. So this is beyond your academics now. This is even in your life, as Janet said, it has to do with your integration and other things you're dealing with. So you're doing this, you're doing school, you're doing so many things at once, and you're having, the hurdles of being from a different culture, being from a different background, and also people having a perspective that's different and not having the same playing terms for everything because you're an international student. So I think those are some of the hurdles and challenges that I had faced, at least.
Our inquiry into the international student experience has shown that beyond the surrounding systems, education itself can present its own set of challenges. After all, studying is the reason they've come here. While the goal may be clear, the reality of the classroom can look very different from what they imagined. For international students, moving means adapting to different approaches to learning. Expectations around participation, feedback, and even what good work looks like can vary widely across cultures. At an art design institution where the critique is central to creative process, these differences can shape how students understand their own work and progress, What feels supportive to one student may feel unclear or even discouraging to another. For fourth-year illustration student Devin, these contrasts became especially visible through his experiences studying across institutions. Before coming to OCAD, he studied in Hong Kong, which he tells us more about.
Most of it is in Savannah, is in America, Savannah, Georgia, or Atlanta. What I said I used to because they permanently shut that campus down because of the Hong Kong protests and also COVID happened. And one thing led to another. I had like a connection here, so I decided, yeah, why not try my luck to come to OCAD and try again. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of differences, I would say. I think the usual thing people would say is SCAD would be more competitive than OCAD, I would say. I noticed that OCAD is more about keeping peace, and at least with my limited scope of being in illustration in OCAD's lens and maybe some in animation in OCAD, I would say it's more about telling people what they want to hear and not what they need to hear. And I think where I came from, kindness would be, well, my biases would be like, the kindness is holding people and each other on a higher standard, but also giving proper like insight, proper crit, and like how to improve in our craft or our education. Whereas kindness here is supporting wholeheartedly, but without actually like being critical quite often. So there's that sort of like difference. Because you know the grass is always greener on the other side, right? It's different. And yeah, it's what it is. Yeah.
And due to that, I have to get student loans for pretty much most of my financial needs. Second to that would be I work at OCAD. I work at the AVIT help desk, and they do have a limit on how many international students they can hire. And I remember when I first applied, I didn't hear back, but they weren't looking for people at the time, so it makes sense. But when they were looking for people, they were like, oh, we have your resume on file, we'd like to interview you. I met with them, interviewed, it was lovely, but I was told, we're trying to see if we can hire you. It's gonna be kind of down to the last minute because OCAD won't let us, like, we only have a allotted like amount of international students we can hire. So even though we want to hire you, and even though positions are available, we may not be able to. So
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And do you have like the visa or the right to work at places that are other than your place of education as an international student, or like what kind of places would they be that you could get it from?
I can. It's a bit confusing because it has changed while studying here, and there's no real like notice or anything when that happens. I know, I'm pretty sure I can work almost anywhere for a maximum of 22 hours a week, something like that. and if I work any more than that, that would be violating my visa.
At the core of the international student experience lies something more human. Friendship, connection, a sense of being understood. These are things that people don't just want but need. However, building that kind of connection from scratch in a new culture isn't always easy for everyone. Even in a multicultural city where you can readily find others of your cultural background, feeling like you truly belong takes time. Navigating new social norms and feeling alone before finding where you fit in are common experiences when immigrating. Research from the Canadian Bureau for International Education highlights this dynamic, noting that international students often find it easier to form friendship with other international students rather than with domestic Canadian peers. Devin also touches on this reality, noting that his own search for community hasn't been straightforward.
Because I do know that international kids have an easier time making international friends, but usually that is, they share the same background, same like heritage, language, education, whatnot. But I don't fit into that because I don't really know my own mother tongue, and it's been a struggle, even with making friends here, because like I said, culturally, people conduct themselves differently, and there's a lot to unlearn and relearn, and I do feel like sometimes if you rub people the wrong way initially, in OCAD, like it's too late, so it's whatever. I'll try my luck elsewhere. I'll do my best. That's all I can say. But the friends I do have now are a wide range of colorful casts. Like they're not from one part of the world, and I think that's great. It's always been the case, even when I was in Hong Kong. So yeah.
Yeah. So if you're not meeting your friends at OCAD, what kind of spaces are you meeting people?
Well, I would usually like outside of my major at least, or some house parties of here or there, but because yeah, it's what I do what I can, and sometimes it's important to be outside of the illustration or art bubble. So it helps inform us or me of wider like range of topics and like inspiration or insight, because like illustration or art here can be like a soundboard of the same ideas of like same like arguments, and so it's important to branch out, right? So yeah.
Despite the systematic challenges that define the international student experience, many students refuse to accept a passive role in their own futures. David is one of them. His personal encounters with housing faculty and institutional friction did not deter him. They informed him, and ultimately led him towards leadership and a focus on advocacy.
He stepped into the Senate role. The biggest motivation was learning, and learning how to serve your community. So I came in with, I would say, almost a personal, but not so personal goal. I came in thinking, okay, fine, maybe I could like leave a mark in OCAD, because I saw a few gaps at least, but I was like, okay, fine. I don't have the Board of Governors position to be an advocate necessarily for like certain things that I think we could bring up to the board level and discuss there for the student body, but I could represent the undergrad perspective in the appeals committee. So I was like, okay, this is still a good opportunity. It's not the same flavor, but maybe I could adapt and still learn and serve OCAD in that way. So I did the first year there, and it was pretty cool. It was rough at first, a lot of reading. You have to read a lot of cases, and I wasn't a fan of reading. Read a lot of cases, you have to be in touch with what's going on, and you have to also listen. So I think the biggest thing was teaching me how to listen. So the motivation, I think at large, was always just being of service and contributing to your environment and just stewarding the specific season of life that you're in as a student. So just living beyond yourself, I think, living beyond your academics and things like that, actually seeking that you make the community or make the OCAD experience better for other people in any way you can. And I think that seed was planted through the first spark, which is the waffle nights I did. And I was like, oh wow, you could really kind of make a difference, even though you're not from the same background as everyone else. You can still add your unique flavor to the community.